Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Nice Catch Podcast. We're here to catch you up on the latest football news and analysis.
Today, we're recapping free agency and looking ahead to the NFL draft.
All right. So, to kick off, let's recap free agency. Let's look at some of the most impactful moves, some of the holes created. Baden, what do you think was the most impactful free agency move of all? What do you think?
All right. Well, I think as a Texan, I think I like the Danielle Hunter move. All right, but I think unbiased Kirk Cousins. That's probably the biggest headline we
I like
have.
that. What do you think of the contract though?
For someone who hasn't necessarily made any postseason success, it's a big contract.
Yeah, for sure. What, like, puts him at more total guaranteed than Tom Brady ever had?
It's a bold move by the Falcons, and if it doesn't work out, we're going to be seeing maybe a little Deshaun Watson situation.
Ooh.
I'm hoping not, because I like Kirk Cousins, but there's a possibility of that happening, I think.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't see it crashing and burning like Deshaun Watson. I think he has a higher floor, especially, I don't know. Don't want to read too much into the Deshaun Watson situation, but personality-wise, Kirk just seems like a safer guy. The thing that interests me about that move is that they have a lot of high picks up there. They have Drake London, first-round pick, Kyle Pitts, first-round pick. They also got Bijan Robinson. So I think you have a lot of potential there. Drake London really hasn't done much. I think he was the first of the bunch that was drafted. Or maybe Kyle Pitts was, but both of them haven't done that much. I think they really haven't had a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had Matt Ryan at the end of his career. They've had Taylor Heineke. They've had Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
Not all those are very
Huge.
low end guys.
And now with the young team that you have, it's good to have a good leader in there who knows the game. Of course, he's having to adjust to your new playbook and style, but he knows the game. He can lead some of the younger guys. So I think that could bring a good element because, Marcus Mariota, Taylor Heineke, they're not the big veteran leaders that you would have in a Kirk Cousins, which is a good thing.
I like that. We'll see. They don't have much competition in that division. We'll see if Baker and the Bucks take it up another level. Don't see the Panthers. Maybe someday. They're still number 32.
Yeah, it's going to take some time.
And the Saints, I don't think, can make that big a jump in 1 year.
No. So it could look good for the Falcons on the rise in that division.
Yeah, for sure. I think one move that I like a lot that a lot of people don't like, sue me, but I like Russell Wilson. I think he still has a lot left in the tank.
All right.
I think in a lot of ways the Steelers are a quarterback away. You have TJ Watt in the defense, and you have a lot of talent on the offense. You have still in a below average-ish offensive line, but you got George Pickens, who I think is extremely underrated, just talent-wise. Underrated mostly because he hasn't had a quarterback that can throw the kind of routes that he likes.
The fact that he's having to make all these crazy catches is because, the ball's not where it should be.
Yeah. And they have a pretty good run game, too, with Najee and Jalen Warren. I think they're a great 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Najee was kind of falling off, but I think having Jalen Warren, kind of using him as a committee, really helps both of them.
Yeah.
And, I think Russ is in a pretty good situation. I think, and especially for Justin Fields. Why did I blank on that name?
No, yeah, but it happens. But having Justin Fields in your back pocket, learning, continuing to grow and be behind, we want to talk about veterans like Kirk Cousins. You have Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
It's great to learn behind him. And so that's going to set up not only the Broncos, but also Justin Fields for future success, I would think. Steelers, yes, sorry. Not the Broncos.
Broncos are on the other end.
Yes, they're yeah. But yeah, the Steelers with it's setting up the Steelers and Justin Fields for great success having someone to learn under, So
yeah,
that looks good.
I like that one. More recently, Stephon Diggs trade, definitely that was a little out of the blue for me.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. And the Bills, they have a lot of work to do. They're going to need a good draft, it looks like. I wouldn't think that they would be in a position of wanting to rebuild just at the state that they're at. And I don't know if that's what you would call this, but it's definitely out of the blue. They're just, I don't know. Stephon Diggs to the Texans. As a Texans fan, I love it.
Yeah.
If I was a Bills fan, I wouldn't. It's just very out of the blue. It's unexpected.
Texans definitely loaded up. I think they're the team in Texas that went all in.
Oh, yes, definitely. The Cowboys, they have had also, like the Bills, another interesting offseason where a little confusing, definitely some questions if you're a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, definitely have those questions. I think a move that will be good, but that I am not as high on, and a lot of people are, is Derrick Henry. Obviously, he's a great back.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's pretty close to the end of his career.
Yes.
Just looking at headlines, all the headlines, they were talking about him possibly going to the Cowboys, which looked like where he was probably going to go.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, man, this would be good, but kind of at the end of his career, weren't that exciting. They bring him to Ravens with Lamar. Everyone's so excited. I think, it's kind of just whatever you want to make it be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'll help. I think he'll up their run game, having a true number one back, maybe, or just Derrick Henry.
Just Derrick Henry.
No matter how old that guy is, he's not that old. I mean, he's what, 29?
No.
But still,
But he's been playing for a long time, a lot of wear and tear.
That name will instill fear in pretty much any defender, especially if you can't hip drop tackle that guy.
Yeah, gosh. And then also add the Ravens uniform is just intimidating. Add that blackout visor with that Derrick Henry. Oh my goodness, that's going to be scary looking.
For sure.
3rd and 3, touchdown pass at the goal line. That's what we're ready to see.
Oh yeah. I think another kind of under the radar move that is definitely helpful, especially now with the Rashee Rice situation, which still waiting to hear more news about that. But Marquise Brown, giving Patrick Mahomes another possibly number one. I think he's more of 1.5, at least in this stage of his career. I mean, he's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes makes a guy like Marquise Brown someone like Devontae Adams, who
exactly.
Devontae doesn't have that quarterback. No. Marquise, not as talented, has a quarterback, could easily have better stats than someone like Devontae Adams.
No, yeah, and that's what the Chiefs have done. I mean, since trading away Tyreek Hill, that's what they've done, is they get a 1.5 even, wide receiver number 2 guy, but they make him look great. They had to work with Kadarius Toney, so.
Yeah.
But, they make not necessarily superstars look like superstars because we all hate to say it, but the Chiefs are good.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting. Could we see a Chiefs three-peat? And we're kind of getting out of order on our
outline.
Outline, yeah, that's the word.
Sometimes it's good to go down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But a Chiefs three-peat's not a rabbit hole I want to think about right now. especially not as a Texans fan, knowing we're gonna have to AFC Championship maybe.
Oof. Going to Arrowhead when it's 20 degrees outside.
As a Houston Texan, that is a scary thought.
Especially
right
what Stroud is from California.
Yep.
So couldn't see that going too well. You got Stephon Diggs. That could be helpful, having a guy's used to the cold up in Buffalo.
Yeah.
But whatever. That's way in the future.
Yeah, we have some time to figure all that out.
Mm-hmm. I think, I guess we also have on the running back note, a lot of names moving around. I think one that could be pretty impactful is Saquon.
Saquon Barkley, yes, to a good team for the first time in his career.
Seriously.
Hopefully, I mean, I don't know about hopefully, but the Eagles had a rough last 5-6 weeks last season. So maybe this new change in running back could help him pick up the pace going into the new season. So that's definitely a big move.
Yeah, I agree. I think was it Saquon's daughter said it best? Like Saquon's like, "Hey, I'm going to the Eagles." She's like, "Does that mean we're gonna win now?"
That's rough.
New York hasn't really done that.
No,
and you go to Philly where I think they're kind of falling off. Someone like Saquon could definitely be a help.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it could be impactful. I don't think it'll be
Game changing.
I don't think it'll be something that brings the Eagles back to the tip top of the NFC.
No.
You know,
I think some inner team things have to happen.
Yeah.
At least, I'm not in the locker room with them, but from what you see last season, some change has to happen before they're back to their 2022 was that Super Bowl?
Super Bowl. I think another move, especially with the kickoff rule change, which I don't know about you, but I'm very excited about.
I think it'll be fun. We add something different.
Oh yeah, I watch a lot of XFL. Got to watch the football when it's out.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2020 was the first season they did it.
Yeah,
everyone was kind of looking at it like this is weird. Ironically, the UFL this year says we don't like it. NFL says we like it. We're gonna try it. So I think we'll actually see returns. I think it's great. A lot of people are just like complaining about whatever rule changes we see, but I think this one is really innovative. Brings more returns.
Exactly, and I mean, think about watching a football game. Some of the most excited you get, or most like heartbroken if you're on the other side of it, is watching somebody return a kick. Like, that's just an awesome thing to watch.
For sure.
So I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, on that note, we got Cordero Patterson signing with the Steelers.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Have a pretty good running back room, as I mentioned before, Najee, Jalen. I don't know how many touches he'll get there. Maybe you'll put him out at wide receiver more. But he's a kick returner.
Yep.
Micah Parsons said he wants to return kicks. Why not? I think he's one of the most athletic players we have in the league.
Yeah.
If he wants to run all 6'3", 250 of them at special teams players,
yeah. I mean,
I'm up for it.
Hey, yeah, you're gonna, and especially no hip drop tackle. It's gonna be hard to bring him down.
Seriously,
give that boy. Put him at running back. Him and Deuce Vaughn can go 1-2.
Oh yeah. We're gonna start talking about holes created by free agency. Cowboys running back was already a hole. Now it is a gaping hole. I think Cowboys running back, Bills wide receiver core, and then a couple teams quarterback situation, which we know will be filled during the draft.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this draft is not a very heavy running back draft.
No.
And what the Cowboys need, they need a guy that they can give it to on the goal line. I think Deuce Vaughn, we saw some in the preseason of him. He can run.
Yeah.
He's small. He's a very good change of pace back. Rico Dowdle had a good year last year. We need someone like Zeke had.
Yeah.
I can't say we. I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm sorry. But
no, yeah, but that's what you need. And that's why, like you said, Derrick Henry would have been great in that position, especially if you were going to go all in. But, there's still some offseason left. But that is definitely, you got to do something there.
Yep.
And like you said, I don't know that a rookie that you'll get from the draft is going to be able to fill that hole.
Probably not.
No.
Very unlikely. Running backs at all today, but especially a rookie without anyone like Bijan, anyone like Jahmyr Gibbs. Maybe the Cowboys will surprise most people, including me. Pick a running back with number 24. Maybe they'll trade back into the early first or early second round. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
It will be interesting.
I can't see the Cowboys going anywhere but down this year.
That's a sad thing to
even
think
with
of.
optimism. Yeah. But, hey, well, for most of the NFL fans, it's a happy thing to think of.
That's true.
Oh well.
That's true. As a Texans fan, being on the other end, being the bad Texas team for a while, it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah.
I have to say. But,
all right.
One more free agency thing that I think I just wanted to bring up because I think these two players are in the exact same situation almost. They're kind of the exact same. Exact same situation. I would say, OBJ and Michael Thomas is a free agent.
Yeah.
And they're both definitely into the career. They're not a wide receiver number one in any way. They could be a wide receiver number two, but what they are is, 3rd and 10, downfield, they're open.
Yeah.
They're going to be there. And Michael Thomas, he's been injured. He hasn't had an injury-free season in 3 years?
Since his Offensive Player of the Year campaign, I think.
Yeah, and so I think those two guys are good. They're a good wide receiver 2, wide receiver 2.5. You know, So I just want to throw that out there. I
Yeah.
think those two guys being in the free agency, that could be a good veteran receiver to add to your core.
I like that.
Kind of like a OBJ. And hey, the past couple of teams that OBJ has been on, they've made it pretty far. Rams, Ravens. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with those two guys.
I like that. Yeah. A lot of rumors that Michael Thomas is going to the Dolphins.
Hey.
I mean, can the Dolphins even add to their wide receiver core? I don't even know.
Do they need to? I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, need to. But hey, it's the NFL. Why not? Yeah,
Exactly.
I like Odell. I like that note you pointed out that the teams he's been on have, done really well.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought about that. I think another thing, a couple other things that OBJ brings is that he's a deep threat on the teams that don't have a deep threat, and that he's a feared name. Like kind of like DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is still maybe not a true number one. He's close though.
Yeah.
But if you're guarding OBJ, you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. There's just a sense of, like you said, a fear factor.
Yeah. So maybe those teams will fill some holes. Like maybe one of them will go to the Bills. But I think a lot of these holes are going to be filled. April 25th, NFL draft.
Yep.
Next Thursday. I guess depending on when this releases, maybe this Thursday. But I think it'll be next Thursday. I think that this draft is going to be one of the more exciting drafts we've seen in a while.
Oh, yeah.
We have, the most exciting positions that people can draft are quarterbacks and wide receivers. Those are what makes the game exciting today, and those are the deepest two groups we have. We have rumors of quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5. Doubt it. And then we have 3 wide receivers that would be a number 1 in the class most years.
Yeah, easily. Marvin Harris, it's.
Yeah.
Just depends on where they get taken. Who decides to
Exactly.
trade up, trade down.
Yeah. Especially most people over the past few months have been mocking a wide receiver to the Bears at 9. But after they sign or trade for Keenan Allen, I don't know.
That's true.
They could have Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and Odunze and Neighbors trade up for Marvin Harrison. And I don't know. It'll be really cool to see. But first, most exciting class in this draft, you got the deepest quarterback class in a while, and not that many quarterback needy teams. Not that many truly quarterback needy teams. I think we have 6 guys who are maybe a first round grade. At least a second round grade.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
competition in the first 3 picks.
And then, 4 and 5, you have Cardinals and Chargers, and they don't need a quarterback.
No.
So that's going to bump at least a couple of those guys down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And then, look, number 6 with the Giants.
Do we like Daniel Jones?
I don't think I think you need to do something different. I think he's had his chance, and he hasn't shown. I just don't think he's your franchise quarterback. I think you got to do something different.
I agree. I think something that is really interesting in my mind about Daniel Jones is that he's in a pretty similar situation career-wise to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is a very different type of quarterback.
Yeah.
But both have been around for a while, high picks, injuries around their career, really haven't proven that they're the guy. But Daniel Jones is in New York, doesn't have the guys around him. People don't like Daniel Jones. Guilty, I don't like Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray is more athletic, still doesn't have really the set around him. He had that season where he started out 7-0, was the MVP favorite for a while, but still, he hasn't done anything in the playoffs.
That's true. People view him differently, though. He doesn't have as much of a negative stigma around his name that Daniel Jones has.
Yeah, Heisman winner always helps.
That's true. That's
But,
true.
yeah, I don't think the Cardinals will take a quarterback. I think that they feel more secure in Kyler Murray, even though the Giants. Sure, I think Kyler Murray has put up better stats than Daniel Jones. But still, you see the similarities, maybe to stretch.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I definitely think that the Giants need to. A lot of the mock drafts that I've seen see the Giants taking Malik Neighbors But I really think they go quarterback.
I agree.
I think they need to go quarterback.
Speaking of
I love
quarterback,
Danny DeVito, but
Ooh,
I don't
yeah.
think he's I don't think
No.
he's your QB number one.
No,
all right?
no, not QB1. I think,
No.
keep him as a backup just for the jersey sales. It's a very Jerry Jones
Exactly.
type move.
Exactly.
Jerry Jones isn't the owner of the Giants, I know. But hey, something Jerry Jones would do.
Yes.
Speaking of the quarterbacks in this draft,
All right.
hot topic. How would you rank these guys? Let's just go to the top 6. After it
Okay.
gets past there, it's not as much film on guys like Tulane's quarterback, Michael Pratt.
Mm-hmm.
No one really watches Tulane.
All right. As a big NFL guy, and not as big into college, I think a lot of what I know is just from what I see with the draft. I haven't seen a bunch of college games, so I can't.
Fair.
I'm probably not the best person to ask.
I think
I am not a big Caleb Williams guy, but he's going number 1, so that's outside of he. If we're talking rank wise, when they're going to get drafted, Caleb Williams. I see Drake May to Washington. I think Washington could do something different. I just think that they've kind of had a similar guy, a similar style quarterback for a while, and it hasn't worked. Jaden Daniels. It's something different. It might be an outside pick. I like Jaden Daniels, and like you said, Heisman winner. That always helps. So maybe that's why I say that, not being a big college guy. I just know he won the Heisman. So I would say in my first 3, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. The way that Jim Harbaugh talks about J.J. McCarthy, you'd think he'd be in the top 3, but I think I'll put him at 4. And then
Penix.
I guess you have Penix and Nix. I definitely don't think that they're going to be picked in the top. I'd honestly probably go Nix and then Penix.
Okay.
So that is my very uneducated, uneducated quarterback rankings for the draft. So.
Yeah. I think a lot of this is because, 3 of these 6 guys are Pac-12 guys. And Pac-12 kickoffs are, midnight for us?
Yeah.
It's not
games that are very convenient to see.
They have good games. They have a lot of fun highlights. But because of the highlights, we see their positive plays. We don't really see the negative plays.
It's true.
Especially, there was that Colorado game this past year that went, till 2 a.m. or something like that. Colorado State.
Mm-hmm. It's not something we're gonna watch.
Yeah, we want to watch. We want to watch these games, especially if they're quarterback prospects like Caleb Williams, generational talent. I don't know.
Yeah, and
I'm not going to take you at your word. Generational talent, Andrew Luck.
Yeah,
no,
yeah. If we were able to, watch more of it without.
Yeah, I think I ranked these guys based on the floor and the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to reconcile both these because it's a very different ranking for me based on floor and ceiling.
Hey, all right.
I think if you're looking at the floor, people probably won't like this, but I think the highest floor.
Mm-hmm.
High floor is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it works. Highest floor is Bo Nix.
Okay.
He's probably number 6 out of those guys ceiling-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But the floor, so much experience in college.
Yeah.
Sure, he doesn't have the arm strength, but I think he's a teachable guy. You can put him in a system, and he'll work with it. He'll make the throws he needs to make. He'll scramble when he needs to. He won't be Mahomes, but I think he is a very high floor.
Yeah. So by just interjection, by high floor, for those like me who terminology-wise aren't as... are you saying although they might not have the highest positives, the biggest film, they almost have the least cost. They're not going to...
Yeah. It's like
there's the least amount of risk.
They're a safer pick.
They're
exactly.
a safer pick. Okay, I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah.
Continue.
Then, next safest pick, we have Drake May.
Yeah.
I think you don't have any personality issues with this guy. Doesn't have as much experience. He can run when he needs to. He can make the deep throws. He can make the short throws. Seems to have pretty good decision making. Next, sure, we have the injury history, but if a guy's already a solid starter, you don't really think about injury history. You know, we think about, Kirk Cousins, Achilles tear.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, Tom Brady tore his ACL and still won so many Super Bowls after that.
Exactly.
Torn ACLs, Michael Penix.
All right.
Watching the semifinals of the college football playoff, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone throw that way. He was making throws that I couldn't believe I was seeing.
Yeah.
Didn't see that in the championship. But if he stays healthy, I know I'm ranking these guys on safe picks, high floors. Most people don't really have health problems in the NFL.
Yeah.
Especially
at the quarterback position. They're so protected in a good way.
So you put Penix there at 3. Then you got Jaden Daniels. I think he can make the plays he needs to. Obviously, he's a smaller guy. It's a lot of people's concern. Kyler Murray, he's making the plays. He's still not a top starter.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see with Daniels. Maybe he'll, kind of break the mold. You know, we've seen smaller guys like Drew Brees do it before.
But it definitely puts him at a disadvantage.
Yeah, especially smaller guys whose main talent is being a running quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Then we got J.J. McCarthy at the second least safe floor.
All right.
You know, doesn't have that experience. I think he'll be good. And then we got Caleb Williams, the least safe floor. I'm sorry for people who really like Caleb Williams. I think the personality issue is really what gets it for me.
I was going to bring that up if you didn't. I agree. But continue.
Especially with the Bears locker room. The Bears locker room was solo Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
And then you trade him away. Maybe they'll just be desperate enough that they're like, come on, save us, please. But I think that they're really going to be skeptical, especially with a guy like Caleb Williams.
Yeah, he's a very, I mean, you saw, I don't even remember what player it was, but just saying, you know, that Hollywood stuff isn't going to fly around here. You know, there's just some controversy already coming in, and that's not what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, like you said, they're desperate enough to be at least a decent team that they might, once he gets there, they might not care. And it'll be interesting. But I definitely agree. Risk-wise, I think you're justified in putting him at the bottom.
All right. Good. I like it. Ceiling. Listeners will probably like this a little more. We got Caleb Williams at number 1.
Okay.
Sure, he's got a lot of talent. Like you said, I haven't watched that much film on him. Come on, Pac-12 scheduling. I guess we'll get Big Ten scheduling next year. Let's go.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I mean, I've seen him, all the highlights of him scrambling, making great throws, perfectly placed, and a lot of arm strength off his back foot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people are justified in saying he's the next Patrick Mahomes. You can't say that going into the draft. But I think he has a really high ceiling. Then you got Jaden Daniels. We keep saying it, Heisman winner.
Mm-hmm.
We see him scramble. We see him make great throws. Sure, he had Neighbors and Brian Thomas he was throwing to. But, I mean, Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Still was a, obvious number 1 overall pick. I don't think we can really put that against people.
No. Then
I'm putting Penix next.
Okay.
Like I said, those throws he was making, maybe this isn't great analysis, but I think he has really good accuracy, great knowledge of the game, has a lot of starts.
For sure.
Then you got May with the next highest ceiling. I guess the third lowest of the top 6. He's a good starter. Maybe he could turn into a star. I don't think he's as prone to being a star.
Okay.
Just with the way he plays.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, we do have Tom Brady, but
exactly.
Speaking of Tom Brady from Michigan, next lowest floor. No, next lowest ceiling.
Next lowest ceiling.
Sorry, guys. We got J.J. McCarthy. Not a lot of experience. Not a great runner as much as Daniels and May are. Not as good a thrower as Penix is. Mm-hmm. We'll put him there. And then lowest ceiling, you got Bo Nix. I think he's Drew Brees in my mind. Drew Brees obviously had a great career. He was never the guy that made all the highlights. He didn't have all the arm strength. I think we'll get to picks like this in a minute, but I think Bo Nix would be a great fit for the Broncos.
Okay.
With Sean Payton, who had Drew Brees.
He knows that kind of player. That makes sense.
All right. So that was my, rant about what I think these quarterbacks will be.
Thank you, Hank. Thank you.
But thank you, Baden. And we'll see. I'll keep this. We'll look at it next year and be like, wow, I was so wrong. And
Or
we'll
you
look
were
at it.
so right. We'll just
Maybe. We'll
hey,
see.
What do we got? 9 more days.
Oh, yeah.
9 more days and we'll know. I
Yeah.
guess
We'll
10
see.
depending on if they go, when they go. But
True. That's a good point. And whenever this thing comes out.
Mhm.
Yeah. I was excited to get this episode out before the draft.
Exactly.
So pre-draft
And here-
stuff is always some of my favorite.
If anyone wants to know my personal little conspiracy theory, which I talked to
Ooh.
Hank a little bit about, is Jim Harbaugh really really boosting up JJ McCarthy, saying he thinks he should go. I mean, he said number 1. We all know that's not going to happen. 2, 3. He really really hyping him up. What me and Hank were thinking is if he can get someone to trade up and get Marvin Harrison, all right? We're thinking he's trying to boost up JJ McCarthy, right? Maybe get someone like the Cardinals or like the Chargers to take a quarterback. Unlikely, but maybe someone else to trade up, get a quarterback.
Well, he's with the Chargers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Duh. Sorry.
It's all
Get
good.
the Cardinals to take quarterback, and then boom, you have Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
So we, just speculation, but if anybody was curious.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. We were talking about, I think, McCarthy has a lot of good film. Before college season was over, McCarthy was probably a second-round pick, maybe late first round. Now he's probably going to be top 4, maybe top 5, depending on what the Cardinals do. But yeah, not McCarthy. That's the quarterback. His coach Harbaugh has his own little plan. Push McCarthy up to 4. Let Marvin Harrison fall to him. He doesn't even have to waste draft capital trading up.
Exactly.
We'll see. But I think first 3 picks, everything I've seen, quarterbacks. Bears need a quarterback pretty desperately. Commanders, they need a quarterback. They have Marcus Mariota, who I think is a good bridge quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Patriots, you got Jacoby Brissett, also a good bridge quarterback. But number 4, you got the Cardinals. Probably not taking a quarterback.
No.
I think I'd be extremely surprised if they did take a quarterback. But hey, they took Kyler Murray after they drafted Josh Rosen the year before. I don't think Kyler Murray's Josh Rosen.
No.
But I think the number 4 pick is where we'll start seeing a lot. A lot of things change.
Mm-hmm.
We could see a team like the Vikings or the Broncos trade up
Okay.
for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Try to get J.J. McCarthy there. Or we could see the Cardinals take a wide receiver, take Marvin Harrison. Maybe they could take an offensive lineman. I think that has a lot of top-ish names in there. No one who's quite like the the best prospect ever, but some good offensive
you
line
definitely
prospects.
have some good offensive linemen that can.
Yeah, but I think Cardinals need that wide receiver. But are they willing to trade back is the question.
Mm-hmm.
So let's think. The Vikings are obviously in a prime position to trade up with the number 11 pick and the number 20-something pick. You give up both those to the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
Vikings get J.J. McCarthy, their quarterback of the future, maybe. Cardinals get number 11, number high 20.
Yeah.
At 11, top 3 receivers are probably going to be gone. And I think those are the guys who have the highest ceiling, probably the lowest floor. Is it worth it for the Cardinals to get maybe a Brian Thomas, maybe a Troy Franklin there, and then later get offensive line?
Yeah.
Maybe get a safety or a corner.
Yeah, 27
Okay.
would be if they traded down. I think they have the 27th pick.
The Vikings do?
Or the Cardinals do.
Oh, okay.
The Cardinals have the 27th pick. So they have 2 picks in this first round.
Right. Already.
Lineman at 27. Sorry, I was going way, but since we were talking about the Cardinals, I went back to.
Yeah.
Since they have picked 27, that's a good place where you could get an offensive lineman. But so yeah, I guess it's just what they'll do with that first pick, if they'll also trade back some more or stay with it.
And I think Cardinals are one of those teams that they aren't super desperate. They don't need a ton. They need a wide receiver. Besides that, they have an okay, okay players at all those positions.
Yeah, everyone's kind of average. Not average, but average. You have James Conner.
Yeah.
You have Kyler Murray.
You got Buda Baker.
Yeah. Okay.
Who, besides that one play, doesn't have that much stardom.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think you're in a good place where you can boost any position you want a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I think the number 4 pick, as I said, will be a very interesting one. Number 5, Chargers. I think we got a wide receiver. Number 6, also be interesting. I've seen a couple people having the Giants trade up to 4. I don't know.
Yeah, there will be a good quarterback at 6. It just depends if you have somebody who you think is going to really fit your. Say you think that J.J. McCarthy is going to perfectly fit your offense, then you might want to trade up. But otherwise, there's going to be someone there.
Yeah, I think if you're in the market for Penix or Nix, you trade back.
Okay,
but it's always risky to trade back
because you don't know.
You don't know. That's why I like the Bo Nix to the Broncos. But if you trade back, maybe someone else likes Bo Nix. Maybe someone like the Seahawks likes Bo Nix.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah,
so
the pre-draft stuff is always fun because we can say whatever we want, and maybe we'll be absolutely wrong, but maybe we'll hit on it.
Oh yeah, and that's the fun part.
It's the fun part. Yep. I don't like all the hot takes without education, but it's the draft. If someone 24 years ago said Tom Brady is going to be the greatest NFL quarterback of all time, most people would have said, "Hey, you're crazy." But hey,
no, they would have said, "Who's
Tom Brady?" Tom Brady?
Sorry, what are you talking about?
24 years ago today, as of this recording, is when Tom Brady was drafted with the 199th overall pick by the New England Patriots.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history. We got Brock Purdy with 262. I don't know if any of these late rounders are really that kind of pick. But
no.
Hey, that's the joy of it. We never know.
Exactly. And if you get sometimes like Brock Purdy, I love Brock Purdy. Not saying he's completely a
system
quarterback. Yeah. But if you get put on the right team, then you can be the 260 something pick. And if that team really fits you and you just work well with them, it doesn't matter. You're in the NFL either way.
Yeah.
All right. So it can work.
Yeah. It's also funny seeing Caleb Williams being number 1 pick and then Spencer Rattler being second round at best, probably third or fourth.
Yeah.
After
early third.
Spencer Rattler, Heisman, not Heisman favorite, but
up there in the runnings.
Like, oh yeah, he was going to be really good. And then they put Caleb Williams in at OU, and everyone's like, "We like this guy, Spencer Rattler, get out of here." And so Spencer Rattler off to South Carolina and doesn't really do anything.
No, I mean, since haven't really heard the name since Oklahoma.
I think it's funny because they're both OU generally has pretty safe guys. You got Baker Mayfield, you got Kyler Murray, and then you get Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams. Like, wait a second, what just happened here?
Yeah, it's a complete switch up.
But who knows? I think Spencer Rattler has a higher ceiling than most late round guys, but also, like I said, has a lower floor. Before we hit the draft, which teams do you think have the greatest shot for the Super Bowl based on what we have right now? And, maybe predictions for the draft.
Okay. Super Bowl. Obviously, hate to say it, the Chiefs. I mean, when you have a Patrick Mahomes, just like when you had a Tom Brady, that might not be the pick you want, but you got to throw them in the running. I got to say, I think that the biggest competition, this is, actually, this is completely unbiased as a Texans fan. But I would say one of at least the top, they're going to be top 3 in the AFC, the Texans. All right. Especially with the offseason they've had now. We'll see what they do in the draft, but it's looking really good, I think. It reminds me of kind of like a 2021 Bengals, 2020 Bengals, just really stacking the team. And so we'll see what happens, but I think they look really good. NFC, I think
49ers.
the 49ers, after 2 trips to the Super Bowl, getting beat by the Chiefs, I think they'll definitely be in the NFC Championship. I just think that something's gonna have to change if they're gonna be a Super Bowl winning team.
Mm-hmm.
Can they make it to the Super Bowl with where they're at now? Yes. Can they win?
Anyone can win.
Anyone
But hey.
can win. That's true. That's true.
I don't know.
If you get to the Super Bowl, you can win the Super Bowl. So that's a good point. But I don't know that they would be my right now. They wouldn't be my pick to win. I'll say
agree.
that. And then we'll see with the Eagles. I don't like that pick. Hey, but we'll see with the new running game.
True.
But with the receivers, they just re-signed Devontae Smith to a big contract.
Heisman winners again.
Oh yeah.
Keep coming up.
AJ Brown had a terrible last 5 weeks.
Yeah, everyone in the Eagles did.
Everyone, that's true. That's fair. But he went from wide receiver number 1 to, he was still their wide receiver number 1, but really, it just wasn't good. And so we'll see what happens there. Otherwise, NFC, I don't know. What do you think, Hank? NFC wise,
NFC, man. I pulled up the odds right here. We got 49ers are the favorites to win the Super Bowl out of anyone, which does surprise me a little, like what we said. And then you got the Chiefs. Sorry, we're just going overall, not just NFC here.
Yeah, I know.
And then you got the Ravens.
Okay.
All those are under plus 1,000 on the odds. Then you got the Lions, Bills, Bengals, Texans, Eagles, Cowboys. I don't know why the Cowboys are above the Packers, but they are. Yeah. I think I was looking at Super Bowl odds a while ago. The Texans opened at plus 2,500.
Okay.
And now they're at plus 1,400.
All
so
right.
their odds have shortened a lot.
Okay.
But yeah, I think
I like that.
AFC, before the season picking the Chiefs, it's like no one repeats. We just saw a repeat. No one repeats.
Well,
it's Patrick Mahomes.
It's Patrick Mahomes.
I can't ever pick against this guy.
No, like I said, that's not what I want. But you just can't deny that it's a huge possibility.
Mm-hmm. I love witnessing dynasties when it doesn't directly affect me.
Yeah.
The Cowboys have not been to the Super Bowl playing the Chiefs. They're not in the AFC competing against the Chiefs.
So
I'll take it. Yeah, as long as the time we do make it to the Super Bowl, maybe next year. No, it's not next year.
When it happens,
got to beat the Chiefs or whoever it is. But it's the Chiefs. They're the top of the NFL.
You know who I like?
All right.
I don't know if this is I don't think it's a huge, I guess you'd call it a sleeper pick. I think it's definitely wouldn't be anybody's first pick. I like the Bucks.
Okay.
I like the Bucks. I think Baker, this first year with the Bucks, did amazing. Took them way farther than I think anybody else was thinking. All right. Mike Evans is always going to be good.
Yeah.
All right. I like it. I think if they can get their running game up, honestly, White. What was his first name?
Rashad White.
Rashad White. He did all right, but if you're looking to go farther in the playoffs and really boost your team, you definitely need to boost up the running game. Otherwise, I like the Bucks. I think right now, like I said, unless the Eagles can change something around, Bucks over Eagles, definitely. I think 49ers over Bucks at this point. Who else do we have in the NFC? Bucks over Cowboys. I'm going Bucks over Packers. I don't know. I like them.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have a good chance. I think definitely if they just boost up that running game, I don't know.
I like that.
It.
Yeah, I think that's good insight there because right here we have the favored over the Buccaneers. We have the Rams, the Bears, before I go to the rest, looking at the odds here, the Rams are plus 1,600. The Buccaneers are the next favorite at plus 3,500.
Okay.
So there's a really big gap there, odds-wise. But they're the top of the pack with, I guess they're tied with the Seahawks and the Vikings. I don't know.
I have them. I understand the Rams, with Puka and, Matthew Stafford. I understand that. I don't see the Vikings being over them. And who else did you say?
Seahawks are also tied with the Bucks.
I can see why that's close, but I would say Bucks over Seahawks, definitely.
Seahawks probably have the best wide receiving core. I know it's close with the Texans and it's the Dolphins, but having a number 3 is really what sets you apart from the other teams. And they have Jackson Smith and Jigba there.
Yeah. Yeah, they every option is a good option.
Geno's been playing well. I think the Sam Howell trade probably means they won't take a quarterback in the draft. We don't know. But I think Sam Howell, showed some good stuff for the Commanders.
Yeah.
But it was the Commanders. Wasn't in a very good situation.
Don't have anybody around you.
So if you're being brought up under Geno Smith, throwing to DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, with the pretty good run game they have, above average offensive line, I could see it.
Good chances, definitely. It could be good for both both of those.
But yeah, my pick preseason, Chiefs, and we're going the Packers.
Chiefs and Packers.
It hurts me, but I don't see the Packers going anywhere but up. I see the wide receivers just continue to develop. I see Jordan Love continue to develop.
It's a young team.
You bring in Josh Jacobs, who sure didn't have a great last year, but the year before that was the NFL rushing leader. I mean, you upgrade the defense.
NFL rushing leader with the Raiders.
Raiders.
Let's throw that out there.
With the Raiders. Sure. Yeah. Back with Derek Carr, who no one talks about anymore.
Yeah. It's kind of like a Jimmy Garoppolo.
True. I don't even know. Did they cut him officially yet, the Raiders? Because he had the PED suspension.
I have not seen. I cannot say accurately whether or not he is cut yet.
One of the funniest videos of the NFL I've seen in a while was a Jimmy G on PEDs
highlight
compilation.
Reel.
It's like, come on, man.
Of all the people.
Yeah.
You would think he'd be having a crazy season, but
nope. Same with it was DeAndre Hopkins a few years ago, got caught for that.
Yeah, and it wasn't even one of his one of his best seasons. No. It wasn't we had the Texans with J.J. Watt and DeAndre Hopkins, and they said, "We want a running back. Bye-bye, DeAndre Hopkins." I don't want to talk about it. But I will say that the shift in management from 2019, 2018 Texans to 2024 Texans is crazy.
Agreed.
In a good way. We went from kind of an embarrassment. I don't even know if you take an embarrassment to the NFL. I mean, literally people joking, and I'm putting quotation marks because they were half serious about the Texans being an XFL team, to being a decent Super Bowl prospect.
Yeah.
Definitely AFC Championship prospect. But, yeah. So, big turnaround there. Happy about that. But since you went out and gave an actual pick, I kind of talked around my official pick for the Super Bowl, I think I'll also have to go. You know what? No. You know what? I'm going to say it now. I'm going Texans, 49ers.
Okay.
That's my pick. I'm writing that down right now.
I like that. You got the 49ers, you got the super team, you got the Texans. Kind of super team upcoming.
Yeah. I can see them having a Bengals year. Second, you got your good rookie quarterback in his second year. He can only go up, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
I'm gonna talk it that say now that he can only go up. You're boosting up that receiving core. All right, so that's looking good. They're getting Tank Dell back from injury. He's small, but with Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs, that's a great receiver 3 2.5. I mean, it depends on. He could be receiver too, but-
Yeah.
So and then Joe Mixon for the running back. So you had kind of a gap in the running game. You're boosting that up. I don't know.
Yeah. I
But
think
we do need the line to kind of step it up. I hope that's who we take in the draft as a lineman.
Okay. As a Cowboys fan, I hope we take a lineman as well.
Yes.
Even though we have a gaping hole at running back and linebacker. Lineman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with Tyron Smith, losing him.
Yeah, that
That is an
Come on.
interesting decision for an all-in kind of
Yeah.
team. But maybe, hey, Jerry Jones, maybe he knows
Do your
something we
magic.
don't.
I will say, Cowboys always draft really well. Always. Normally draft really well.
Yeah.
Taking Mozzie Smith in the first round last year has not panned out. But going back to kind of sleeper picks like we were saying earlier.
Okay.
With you said the Bucks, an AFC team I like.
All right.
It's the Titans. I don't like
Okay,
them to be a Super Bowl team.
Convince me.
I
Convince
think, if the Texans don't pan out, I could see them winning the division. They don't.
All right.
The Jaguars, still waiting for them to prove it. And then you got the Colts. I don't know. I mean, I think Anthony Richardson is a great athlete. This is basically his rookie year, though.
Yeah, no. 3 games, lost 2 games last year.
But with the Titans, you get Calvin Ridley, pair him with DeAndre Hopkins. You get Will Levis as the official starter, as the unquestioned starter. I think he's a guy that maybe he's already won the locker room. If he hasn't yet, he will very easily win the locker room soon.
When you see your quarterback throw a pick, light up the defender, and get the ball back, that man is your QB1.
Yes. Or linebacker 1.
Or linebacker 1. No. But I don't know that I see exactly what you see in the Titans, but I definitely think that I like Will Levis for that reason. I saw that game, and while I was watching that, I was like, I like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry to interrupt.
Oh no,
Continue.
you're good. And then you get the run game. You've obviously had Derrick Henry for a long while.
Mm-hmm.
I think with him gone, gives Tyjae Spears an opportunity to prove himself. I think he'll be more of a passing back than Derrick Henry was.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not as much running over people.
Yeah.
But I think he's a good running back 1. Pairing him with Tony Pollard, who I think is good, but he's not the number 1 that the Cowboys thought he was last year.
Yeah, a good switch up back.
Mm-hmm.
You saw it with Zeke.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
And then you get L'Jarius Sneed. Anything less than a first-round pick for him was a steal. So you get him for a steal.
Yeah.
And, you get, assuming you get an offensive tackle in draft, probably the number 1 offensive tackle that there is in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
You're pretty set on the offensive side. Defensive side still needs a little work. But I think, if you draft well, you could see him competing for the division. I don't think they're an AFC championship team, especially with this loaded of an AFC.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Titans will surprise people this year.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? I said convince me. You convinced me.
All right, let's go.
I'll see them going number 2 in the division, of course. Because
Yeah.
I gotta say the Texans are gonna be first.
I think the whole division will be a surprise.
Yeah,
Obviously,
and
people expect the Texans to do well.
people expect the Texans to do well, but the one thing I will say about the division is it's gonna be tight.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, I mean, I would have put, I probably still would, depending on between the Jacksonville and the Titans. I think they're gonna be near the bottom. I think the Colts will have a great QB1 with Anthony Richardson. Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
They don't have a Seahawks receiving core or a Texans receiving core. Still got a good receiving core. And defensively, that's something. I think they have a good line, but it's gonna defensively. They're gonna. I bet that's who they would want to take in the draft as a defensive player. But I can see them being 2 or 3, and like you said, Jacksonville. They kind of have to prove themselves because 1 year, 2 years ago, they were like, "Oh my gosh, wow, Jacksonville, they're amazing." Last year, started out great and then tanked, absolutely tanked. So, but I do think that's going to be one of the tightest divisions in the AFC.
Looking at the odds now, we have the Texans at +110 to win the division.
Okay.
Jaguars at +240. Colts at +340. and then the Titans at plus 1,000. So
hey, like you said,
we'll
hey,
see.
Sleeper pick. That's
Yep.
what you said.
That is what I
And
said.
and you defended your
Yep, you got to have the logic behind it. That's
Gotta
why
have
we're
the-
here.
yes.
We give you the logical picks and analysis.
Panthers Super Bowl winners. That's my pick.
I think Bryce Young is the next Tom Brady.
Yeah.
No, I do not think that. Please don't quote me on that.
Someone's gonna clip that, Hank, and
Yeah,
they're putting it on
exactly.
Instagram Reels, and you're gonna get made fun of.
Yep, that's why we're here. I think another division that will be really interesting is the NFC North. You got the Lions, Packers, Bears, and Vikings.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Who do you think?
I think we could see 3 playoff teams from there pretty
Okay.
easily. Lions still competing for the top of the NFC. I don't think they're going. Well, okay. It's hard to stay top 2 in the NFC, but they have the talent to stay up there. The Packers, man, if they don't win a playoff game this year again, I think it's a below average season. They should have beat the 49ers. That was, I don't like the Packers, but still a tough game to watch knowing that they should have beaten them. The Bears, really depends on what we see. I could see them having a top 10 pick again next year.
Yeah.
Or I don't see winning the division. I just don't.
I don't think
I could
winning
see
the
him
division.
making the playoffs.
But yeah, and even doing like a Steelers, 9-8, sneaking in there, and then maybe they go out first round. But I think for the Bears, if you make it to the playoffs, that's a win for your franchise.
Yeah,
if you consider the past.
Yes,
every
considering
year.
the past, I've seen people putting the Bears at the number 2 in the NFC.
Whoa.
I don't like it.
Whoa.
But, it's your quarterback's rookie year.
Yeah.
It's, your first year letting the team get to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then, round it out with the Vikings. I will say, I do not dislike Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was a number 2 overall pick in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Never panned out in New York.
And I mean,
But
with
they're
the
the
Jets,
They're the
exactly.
Jets.
Exactly. I understand.
And then, you see Zach Wilson not pan out with, is it many or much? Many more weapons than Sam Darnold ever had, and still not panning out. I don't know. I think Sam Darnold throwing to Justin Jefferson is always a bonus.
Yes. That helps make you look good.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
And so, yeah, I think we could see the Vikings sneaking in as a playoff team as well, especially, it's another thing I like. I like the Vikings to take J.J. McCarthy, semi-local for his college. I guess not really where he went to high school, but semi-local for his college. I think he's a great guy to develop under a guy like Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a guy that comes in and wins right away.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah. So, yeah, that division should be pretty interesting to watch. See what happens.
We got another sleeper pick here. Pains me to say it, but Washington Commanders.
Okay.
You get Dan Quinn, who Cowboys a few years ago defense was unbearable to watch. One of the worst defenses the Cowboys have had franchise history. One of the worst defenses in the league. You get Dan Quinn, who I like to say the Cowboys made get fired because the Cowboys beat the Falcons on an onside kick that week.
Yeah.
And the Falcons said goodbye to Dan Quinn. And then we said,
Hey.
we want you.
Oh, yeah. Playing
happened
chess,
to coincide.
not checkers.
Exactly. Happened to coincide with Micah Parsons. We'll see how that continues, especially with all those rumors that I don't want to read into. But I think you add guys like Bobby Wagner, who is not the guy he was, but is still a very good defensive leader, good defensive player as well. You add Zach Ertz, great offensive leader. I mean, I think he's still a tight end 1.
Yeah.
But he's not Sam Laporta. He's not George Kittle. He's not he's not Brock Bowers.
Yeah. Speaking of which, finish what you were going to say first.
Yeah, that's about all I got. Commanders, I think, could play for the division, especially if the Eagles continue to fall off and if the Cowboys go like I am fearful they will.
Yeah. But you never know, before the season. But I think the Commanders, if they go with, I think quarterback-wise, it would be good, I said this earlier, to go in a different direction. If you pick up Drake May, he's going to be good, okay? But he's similar to who you've had in the past, and nothing's kind of worked. If you pick Jaden Daniels, like you said, there is definitely some risk to that, especially with his size, but it's something different. And I think at this point, you need something different.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that would be interesting. I think that would be an interesting thing to watch if Jaden Daniels went second to the Commanders. I think it could be helpful. I think that it could show a new side. I don't know if you say a new side of the Commanders, a new path for them. Maybe back to the RG3 days.
Okay.
Something different. Just try it. Kind of with the Patriots. You've had you kind of tried to get a Tom Brady 0.2 with Mac Jones. That did not work. Went to Bailey Zappi. Excuse me.
Yeah, whatever.
Forgive me, Bailey Zappi.
No,
but
it doesn't matter.
He is just a Mac Jones 0.2.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I was writing down, I think if Jaden Daniels doesn't go to the Commanders, I think Patriots, that's a good pick for them. Mm-hmm. Especially without Bill Belichick. I think the Patriots, you have to rebuild. You have to go outside the box of what you've been doing.
The Patriots have to admit they're going to rebuild. They haven't admitted that the past few years.
Yes, but they need to go ahead and say, all right, look, guys, it's rebuild year.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see that. That might be coming up on the Cowboys. I don't know if we need to talk about it.
Yeah,
but
probably. Whatever.
We won't go there.
Yeah, whatever. Let's talk for another time. That's a talk for week 5 when we're 2-3.
Yes.
Something else leading up to the draft. We always get people like Puka Nacua, people like Tom Brady, people like Brock Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
This year, I can't say there's any people that I look at and I think they're the next Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
But there are a couple guys that I like late.
Okay.
Running back wise, like I said, it's not a very running back heavy draft. I like Frank Gore Jr. You hear the name Frank Gore, you're gonna fear.
Yeah.
He's not.
He's not someone you're taking
He's not in the first round for
No.
sure. He's not a top prospect, but I think that fear is definitely a big part of football. You're talking about that with OBJ earlier.
Yeah.
Frank Gore Jr., you get fear there, and he's a good runner. We saw him at the East-West Shrine Bowl take off for a 50-yard touchdown.
Oh, the speed, he's a good runner.
Then outside the box, you're looking at returners.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, Cordero Patterson move to the Steelers. Smart move. Someone who is a very successful punt returner in college. He could be a good kick returner as well. You got Aniyah Smith from Texas A&M. Several times he dropped the ball and then had a really good return, which red flag there. But if we're looking at good returners, you got Aniyah Smith.
Yeah, and like we were saying, the return is going to be different. So that could be a position that may have been kind of overlooked in the past that you're going to want to boost. And so, I think you're right. That could be something that people are looking at.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we're going off of fear of a name, if we're looking at receivers, Brendan Rice. Okay, so definitely not. When you're up against people like Marvin Harris, so that definitely puts you down. Definitely not a first, probably not a second, but kind of like the Frank Gore. It's a name, and so I think that could be good. A good third rounder, maybe fourth, but I like that pick. Mm-hmm. I'm interested to see, based off, of course, I think that probably I'm not an NFL scout, but I would assume that they base more for their drafting off of previous film and visits than the combine.
They should.
They sure should.
In my opinion.
But I think it'll be interesting to see where Xavier Worthy,
yeah.
just, with the speed, I think that'll be interesting. That could be something, a deep threat, send him on a go route. One of those plays like the Texans had in the divisional round, first play of the game, Nico Collins on a go. Something like that, just something different. So I'll be excited to see where he goes, just based off the combine.
Agreed.
And he's a UT guy, and so from Texas, not a UT fan, but I am a Texas fan. So
yeah, state of Texas.
I am a state of Texas fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He could be the next Tyreek Hill. I mean, obviously take that lightly.
Yes.
But another receiver who, before the combine, was a first-round pick, probably.
Yeah,
After the combine, probably second because of his bad 40 time. Keon Coleman. Yeah.
I have that written down for... Oh, you want to know who he had visits with, which is another reason.
Ooh, I'd love to know who Keon Coleman had visits with.
The Bucks.
Ooh.
All right.
Yeah.
Mike Evans, he's been playing for a while. All right. And then Chris Godwin, great receiver, wide receiver number 2. He's been playing for a while. All right. They're definitely not peak of their career. So it would be good to have a nice wide receiver number 3. You're not high in the draft. All right. You're getting near the end. You take Keon Coleman round 2, round 3. I like it. But yeah, I was looking through who has had visits with who, and Keon Coleman has only visited, at least from what was on this the NFL website. As of now, when this podcast is coming out, the only team that Keon Coleman has visited is the Bucks.
Okay,
so just throwing that out there.
Huh? I don't know where you found that because I thought I'd seen a few others, but who knows? We'll see.
I was probably looking on some Wikipedia NFL page. No, but. If anybody's wondering, we're in the Keon Coleman stock because have a picture. Little brother has a signed hat from Keon Coleman.
Yep.
Saw him at the East-West Shrine Bowl. So,
we have some supporting his friends.
We have some Keon Coleman. No, was not playing. So that was sad. Not
you
actually.
Definitely did not think he was Jordan Travis at first.
No. Why would we think, Hank? Why would you even bring that up? That's such a silly thing to think.
What?
But so we have a little bit of stock in that area.
Mm-hmm.
My little brother was crushed when he learned that he probably wasn't going first round.
Yeah.
He was actually watching the draft so that he could see whether Keon Coleman, or not the draft, the combine, hoping that Keon Coleman would have a crazy combine. And he actually talked to me that day and he was like, Baden, Keon Coleman's not going round 1. Sorry, Rocky.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening
to the Nice Catch Podcast. If you love football, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast and join us each episode for football news and analysis from the offseason all the way through the playoffs. This is the Nice Catch Podcast.